Alright, so here I'm bringing you a deck profile of my Miss Valley Ninja deck. Sorry I haven't been bringing you too many videos recently, but I got busy and it was just tough to keep uploading videos consistently, but I want to try to bring you some more ninja videos. I've been playing the deck again a lot this format. It became a lot better with the new March format, so I've been playing it mostly. This format's been my primary deck for about a month, and it's about as good as it was before in, I'd say, like the November format. So it's definitely a good rogue deck, and I top locals pretty much every time, but it would be tough to beat all the meta decks at a larger tournament. Um, Personally, that's not a problem for me though, because there are no regionals this format at all for me. There was one in April, I think. So yeah, that was the last the event in my area, at least. Normally, I do these videos just using dual network because it's a lot easier for me. But I do have all the cards for my ninja deck because it's my main IRL deck. So I thought I would use the actual cards this time. So first we have 3 Hanzos. My cards aren't all sleeved because I'm also playing some other decks, so some of them are sleeved and some of them are not. Hanzo is obviously your main card. It's the Stratos. No explanation needed for that. Pretty obvious. One Upstart Golden Ninja. I was playing 2, but I find it to be a little subpar against Shadal's, especially. It's not that good against Shadal's. And it's also just okay against Necros because a lot of times they'll have either the Digin Lock or they will have a Unicorn, and this isn't very good against either of those usually. It's just okay. You do need the ninja target for Hanzo, but I find one to be enough. I don't run any other ninjas. And then I'm running 3 Falcon. I went down to 2 of this because it's so bad against Cliffords usually, but Cliffords did drop in play, though they are becoming more popular again, which is kind of annoying because of last turn. Anyways, Falcon is really good in this deck. It's pretty much one of the core monsters. You don't really need to explain that. And then the one Apex Avian, your boss. And then I'm running an Armageddon Knight plus Zephyros engine. So basically, what you do is you can normal summon Armageddon Knight, send Zephyros from your deck, bounce one of your traps back to your hand, summon this, just make it rank 4. That's the standard play that you go for with that. What you can also do is if you don't have access to your ninjas, but you have a transformation card, you can dump a Hanzo with Armageddon Knight, and then you can reborn this with your Call the Haunted, and then transform this into an Apex Avian. So it's a little slow, but it's a way of getting your engine going. I got this idea because I was thinking about how Satellar Knights have Deltaros, and Armageddon Knight does the same thing for the deck, essentially. Obviously, it's not as good as not Deltaros. They have Unakalhai. Obviously, it's not as good as Unakalhai because the Hanzo doesn't search for the traps when it's special summoned. It searches for monsters. So it's not quite as good as special summoning to Neb using Call the Haunted. And obviously this deck also does not have an Altair. But Zephyros is good, and Armageddon Knight I like as a one-of to search it out. And then one DD Warrior Lady. This is mainly for the Shadal matchup. It's just a searchable out. It's also not the Digin Lock, which isn't too problematic for this deck, but with certain hands it can give you trouble. So I like that in the main deck now. And then for the spells, triple reinforcement of the army. This is pretty standard. Yeah, you want your Hanzos, so you search for them. You can also search DD Warrior Lady for removal, or Armageddon Knights, or Upstart Goblin for rank 4 plays. So it does have a decent amount of flexibility, and it's Rhoda. Triple duality. Most of your special summoning is in your opponent's turn, so that's really obvious for consistency purposes. And then I am running an engine with one Divine Wind in Mist Valley, one Shrine in Mist Valley, and one Terraforming. So I feel like, okay, first of all, Shrine of Mist Valley and Divine of Mist Valley are essentially the exact same thing, because all you're using them for is a name to send back to your hand with Apex Avian for the negate. Sometimes you will get the effect of Divine Wind off. You'll never get this effect off. So this effect is good when you get it off, but it's very much a win more effect. When you're getting that off, you're almost always going to win that game because you have Apex Avian, Falcon, and a field spell, which by itself is enough to win without the effect of the field spell. So I think the fact that this doesn't have an effect doesn't really matter. I do like these with Apex Avian if my opponent does not play MST. So if your opponent plays MST, this is essentially a dead card because they'll just MST your transformation and you won't be able to summon your Apex Avian. But if your Apex Avian is out, then this is a +1. So, and it's potentially infinite +1s if your opponent can't manage to bait out 2 negates during their own turn. Your opponent is pretty much guaranteed to have MSTs in their deck, games 2 and 3, so I always side these out. Yeah, I don't think they're very good after siding. One Soul Charge. Soul Charge is kind of really good. Especially in this deck, it's pretty crazy, because you can bring back like an Apex Avian plus Mist Valley Falcons for negates, and yeah, usually you generate massive advantage through that card. It's pretty broken. One Book of Moon, one of the best traps still. And then triple transformation. You need something to search with your Hanzo. It's basically your main engine. And then I'm running 3 Call the Haunted plus 1 Powerful Rebirth. So Call the Haunted is still, in my opinion, the best revival trap for this deck in particular. The fact that it summons in attack mode is good. The fact that it can actually summon Apex Avian, this one can't. And also the fact that it stays on the field so easily, unlike Oasis, it makes it really good. Powerful Rebirth I like because if this leaves the field, the monster isn't automatically destroyed. So that works pretty well. You can do weird, funny stuff like you revive a Mist Valley Falcon and then attack with it and bounce the Powerful Rebirth to your hand. And then the Mist Valley Falcon was basically just for free because you can use the Powerful Rebirth on something else later. So I like that. You can come up with some pretty nifty combos, basically, using it. The only downside is it can't summon Apex Avian from your grave, so I'm only playing one of it because of that. I'm playing triple Mind Crush, pretty much a staple of this format. It's one of the best traps. It's good in basically every matchup. And then I've got 2 Fiendish Chain, not 3 because I don't have room, not because it's not good. Yeah, this plus Falcon, you can do some lockdowns. It's pretty funny. I'm running 2 lose turns, not 3 because this deck does special summon a lot. So lose turn does hurt the deck somewhat, but not nearly as much as a lot of other decks. And it's a really powerful card. One thing that I really like doing with lose turn is you can actually special summon monsters pretty well to avoid lose turn's downside. So you can't activate this if you control a special summon monster. So what you do is you'll have Hanzo and you activate Luciturn, and then you chain transformation to Luciturn, tribute Hanzo, summon Apex Avian, and then it stays in attack mode. Its effect is negated that turn, but usually that doesn't matter because during your opponent's turn, there aren't very many outs your opponent can have to Apex Avian. Their monster outs will most likely be negated by lose a turn, or if it's a monster with a high attack, they won't be able to attack over Apex Avian because they'll be in defense mode. And also, most trap outs respond to the summon, or they're like Mirror Force or something, so they can't really do that in this situation. Things like bottomless, they won't be able to activate because you're summoning as chain link 2 or 3, depending on if you chain lose a turn to anything. So this is a way I like getting around the restriction on lose a turn, so I can actually control a special summon monster and have lose a turn effectively at the same time. I'm playing one Karma Cut, only one because the field spells make it so I don't bounce Apex Avian into my hand quite as much. I feel like one's enough. In my opinion, Karma Cut is the best discard trap right now. Usually I play Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, but I think Karma Cut's quite a bit better in this format, actually. And then I'm playing one Ring, one Warning, and one Vanities. The most powerful limited traps, in my opinion. They're all pretty good. Vanities is still broken in this deck. Much more so than in other decks. And then for the extra, you just run generic rank 4s, basically. You don't use this too often. We use it somewhat, though. Castel is pretty important. Exiton is actually probably the most important one in the extra deck at the moment. And then I have 101, 103, Abyss Dweller, Cowboy, Diamond Crab King, Karen Gorgon, Heartland Draco, Dark Rebellion Dragon, Crazy Box, Steel Swarm Roach, and then those last ones are not generic. Gandiva, because your monsters are warriors, and Excalibur, because your monsters are warriors. I only have 14 here. I would run 15, but there's really nothing else that you actually need. I can't think of the last time anything else has come up. Usually what I do is I just run double of Castel. You might want to run double Exiton if you have to, but I only have one. I would say just depending on your local meta, you can decide which one you need 2 of the most. I don't think there's any that I'm not playing that are super important. And then for the side deck, double Maxi, mostly Burning Abyss, which is still kind of annoying of a matchup. One Regeki. I kind of want to main deck this, but there's no room. This comes in against a lot of like rogue stuff, and it's good against most decks actually. So one Karma Cut. I side this in almost every time because I'm siding out my field spells, which makes me want to have 2 discard traps. So that's why that's inside. One Soul Drain and one Macrocosmos. Soul Drain does absolutely nothing to this deck. Macrocosmos does hurt this deck, but not as much as the things I sided in against. 2 Anti-Spell Fragrance and 1 Darksome Morgue. I wish I was playing 3 of this, but there's not really room in the side deck. This is really good against Necros and Clifforts. They like Simorg plus Anti-Spell Fragrance is obviously an auto win against Clifforts. They can't play any cards. And then Mistake. Mistake hurts this deck a lot, but you can turn it off with Falcon. And obviously you side this in against text that it destroys. I side this in against Satellar Knights, Necros, Clifforts as well. Basically anything that searches a lot. Yeah, it's a really powerful card. Triple MST. You could main deck these depending on your meta. If you have a lot of Cliffort decks in your area, then you might want to have that main decked. But aside from Clifforts, I don't think this is worth it main decked against any other matchup. It's certainly nice to have against a lot of decks, but it's not super important. Yeah, I don't really like that main decked at all right now. And then 1 Compulse. This is really good against most decks, but it's not that good against Clifforts or Necros, which are 2 of the main matchups, so I don't have it in the main deck. So that's my deck profile. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the deck. If you did, be sure to check out some other stuff. I'll try to have more videos on the way. I want to keep going with my top 100 Yu-Gi-Oh! Card series in particular, so be on the lookout for that.